So, it wasn't supposed to be a big moment. Just another midweek photo op with a billionaire and a 5-year-old. The kind of carefully planned encounter that fills 5 minutes of a slow news cycle, then fades into the digital ether. But sometimes, the most ordinary setups turn into something else, something harder to define, something you don't forget. Elon Musk was scheduled for a short visit with the president. Officially, it was a discussion about domestic infrastructure. Unofficially, it was another opportunity to be seen. Musk had brought along his young son, Techno Mechanicus, a child with a curious name, a quieter presence, and a habit of watching everything. The room was too quiet before they arrived. That should have been the first clue. Staffers lingered in the corners of the Oval Office, trying not to make eye contact with one another. Aides clutched iPads without unlocking them. A Secret Service agent cleared his throat once, then twice, then stopped. The silence wasn't heavy. It was stretched, thin and taut, like a thread about to snap. The door opened with a soft creak, and Elon walked in wearing a hoodie and a red hat. It wasn't a MAGA hat, but it might as well have been. It read, "Trump was right about everything," printed in sharp white letters, slightly crooked, as if done in a rush. Behind him, his son followed, eyes wide and unblinking. The boy didn't smile. He didn't speak. He simply walked 2 steps behind his father, hands tucked behind his back like a tiny diplomat. The president looked up from behind the resolute desk and gave a nod that hovered somewhere between welcome and recognition. No one said much at first. Elon extended a hand. It was taken, then dropped. They exchanged a few quiet words about solar arrays. Nobody in the room wrote them down. At one point, Elon stepped aside to show something on his phone, an image of a solar-powered railgun, or maybe a hover train. The screen was visible only to the president. The others waited. And that's when it happened. The boy, still silent, had wandered around the desk. Not far. Just enough to place himself behind the president's chair. No one stopped him. He didn't touch anything at first. Then, slowly, he raised a single finger to his nose. It was subtle, barely a motion at all. A small gesture of curiosity or maybe defiance. No one called it out. No one laughed. Not even the aides. The boy examined what he found on his fingertip for the briefest moment. Then, as casually as someone swiping a fingerprint from glass, he reached under the edge of the resolute desk and wiped it. There was no expression on his face, no glee, no shame. He simply resumed standing there, hands at his sides. The president hadn't noticed, or perhaps he had, and chose not to respond. It was someone else, a junior communications aide, who first reacted. A sharp inhale. Not fear. Something closer to disbelief. Another staffer shifted their weight, eyes darting toward the boy, then toward Elon, then back to the desk. Elon didn't move. The president looked down briefly at the phone in his hand, then up at the others. He caught the glances, the silence. "What?" he said. The aide didn't answer. No one did. Trump pushed his chair back and slowly stood up, his hand gripping the desk for support. He looked over at the child, then crouched slightly and peered beneath the desktop edge. He froze. A single beat passed. "What is that?" he asked, to no one in particular. Another beat. Did he just wipe something on my desk? Still, no one responded. But the air changed, a subtle shift, like someone opening a freezer door. Elon finally spoke. "He's 5, he said. They do things." "He just wiped a booger on the resolute desk," Trump said. His voice was calm, but his eyes weren't. "I didn't see that," Elon replied. "You were right there." "I didn't see it." Trump looked down again, crouching further. "It's there. It's—" He didn't finish the sentence. He stood up slowly, brushing his hands together as if removing dust that wasn't there. Do you know what this desk is? He said. Not to the boy, not to Elon, but to the room itself. This is the desk from Kennedy, from Reagan. Lincoln didn't sit here, but he should have. Silence. He just did that. Right there. Like it meant nothing. Elon tilted his head. Or like it meant everything. Trump turned sharply. What's that supposed to mean? I'm just saying, Elon said quietly. They watch everything. Kids. They absorb. Maybe he saw someone do that once. Trump's jaw tightened. No. Maybe, Elon repeated. There was a pause, a long one. Then softly Trump said, I might have done it. Once. Not like that. Not intentionally. I mean, people get distracted. There aren't tissues around here. You're in meetings. Sometimes. Things happen. He stared at the desk like it had betrayed him. You think he saw that? I don't know, Elon replied. Maybe. A Secret Service agent coughed in the corner. No one moved. Trump sat down. Slowly. Carefully. His hand hovered just above the part of the desk where the smear was. Get someone to clean this, he said. Quietly. No one responded. Outside the Oval Office, the world went on. Tour groups shuffled past hallways. The press pool waited in the briefing room. Somewhere upstairs, a vacuum cleaner hummed softly. Inside, the room stayed still. The boy had moved on. He was sitting now, legs crossed, tapping something quietly on Elon's tablet. Unbothered. The president stared at the desk. And the rest of them? They pretended not to see. But that didn't stop the story from leaking. It was small at first. A single anonymous post on a fringe forum. Then a blurry photo, allegedly taken by an aide, who happened to glance under the desk. Soon, the speculation took over. Desk incident. Resolute Gate. One post simply said, DNA is forever. Some said the president had lost control of the room. Others joked it was a metaphor for everything else. Some called it performance art. A few believed it was planted, either as provocation or commentary. Nobody could agree. Elon didn't comment. Neither did the White House. But the video showed up anyway. A 12-second TikTok posted by a child's account no one had seen before. A low-angle shot under the desk. The sound of shoes scuffing and a tiny voice whispering, I learned it from watching you. The video vanished minutes later, but not before being saved, shared, uploaded, duplicated. And suddenly, what was once a silent moment in a quiet room became something else. People argued in comment threads. Some said it was fake. Others swore they recognized the hand. Still others said it didn't matter. One op-ed writer declared it a quiet coup, done in mucus. Another said it was just a kid being a kid. But for the ones who were in the room, the moment stayed different. Not scandal, not satire, just strange. Not everything has to mean something, but sometimes it does anyway. A week later, the president sat again behind the resolute desk. The smear was gone, cleaned, buffed, polished, but he kept glancing beneath it, as if expecting something else to appear. He didn't talk about the boy. Elon was gone. The aides had moved on to a new set of headlines, but that quiet, stretched silence, the one that had hovered in the room before the moment, it never quite left. You couldn't point to anything that proved it had happened. No official record, no confession, just a look, a gesture, a feeling that once something like that happens in a room like this, something changes. And maybe that was the point. Maybe it wasn't about disrespect or rebellion. Maybe it wasn't about dominance. Maybe it wasn't even about the booger. Maybe it was about seeing something, someone, crack, if only for a second. Watching a room full of people trained to spin stories go quiet. Watching power become confused. Watching a child do something ordinary in an extraordinary place. And letting the silence answer the questions no one could ask. Maybe it was nothing, but it felt like something. And sometimes, that's enough. This is the irony, and that's the irony. So, disclaimer. This video is a work of satire and fiction. It is intended for entertainment purposes only and should not be interpreted as fact, news, or a representation of real events. Any similarities to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events, is purely coincidental.